Well, it's that time of the year, folks, where we just simply say, let's get nuts. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers podcast on a Wednesday, live from the Xfinity Mobile call-in line. Well, the Xfinity Mobile line here with Derek Kyle. I'm Devon Breed, President of Basketball Operations. All of you, we are presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We have a lot to get to. It's a Wawa, so it's a Wawa Wednesday. So we have to talk about some great things there with Wawa, with the big deal from Wawa. As you see, Derek brandishing a nice little mug right there with the Wawa logo at the moment. And we also just simply have to get into so many other things. We'll have some news and notes a little bit later. And we got the cat in the house right now, part of the show.
He was trying to drink out of my Wawa mug at that very moment.
All right. Well, we have to start off after the Sixers take care of business against the Milwaukee Bucks last night and pick up a comfortable win, as it turned out, for the Sixers in the fourth quarter. Very good performance, bouncing back on the second night of a back-to-back. We will talk about the stretch a little bit later, presented by Rothman. But things got so bad for Giannis, as he was not playing, already out due to his injury, that it appears that he has decided, you know what, I'm ready for a new home. Okay, so the Sixers broke the Bucks last night. Giannis wants out. And the question is, Kyle, as we start things off here, do the Sixers somehow find a way to get involved and go after Giannis and go all in? And if so, what does that entail as far as the roster?
Well, first of all, I just want to thank Doc Rivers for having the hilarious timing to say Joel Embiid's the most talented player he's ever had. What, 12 hours before the Giannis trade rumor comes out? So between the Ben Simmons championship point guard comment back in 2021, like, this guy really has a knack for timing and when to say the right thing. I always said that about Doc. Thank you very much to Doc Rivers for that. So here's where I'm at. If you're just saying this is the best possible guy that is on the market, it's a unique opportunity, Giannis is still, when he's healthy, an elite player, all those are reasons that I'm not saying you have to do it, but you at least have to be on the phone. You have to be gauging the market. You have to be figuring out, okay, what is out there in terms of competing offers, who's in the mix. I think we know some of the teams that are in the mix. The Knicks kicked the tires on Giannis already in the offseason. I think you look at all the smoke involving Karl Anthony Towns and maybe the trouble that they've had regarding him this season, and you say that seems like a natural fit, at least for the money. Got to figure out the rest of it. So there are other teams that are certainly already in the mix or in pole position, but I think the Bucks are going to take their time. I do not think this is necessarily a trade deadline move, although if somebody can get in there, I'm sure they will. But if you're the Sixers, for me, the line I'm willing to draw is at VJ Edgecombe. And Bill Simmons had a very viral moment on his podcast recently where he proposed, what was it? I believe it was Paul George, VJ, and first-round picks for Giannis trade. I think the Paul George and picks, I'm fine. Roll the dice. Giannis is so good, and we can get into the numbers and what that all looks like. Like, Giannis takes a bad Milwaukee team from the basement on both ends to respectability on defense. And I am not exaggerating when I say this. When Giannis is on the floor, the Bucks have the equivalent of the number one offense in the NBA. That's how much he is driving that team. That's how much the ecosystem is built around him there. Giannis as a power player, downhill, nightmare, transition weapon, foul drawer, all that stuff. Creator off of that too, like hitting guys on skip passes, drop-offs, whatever it might be. He is an engine for your team, and he is still a tremendously valuable player. There is a limit for me, though, because I don't think, especially when you consider he's hurt right now, he is slowly accumulating more and more injuries over the years, particularly in some playoff scenarios in recent years, where it's been one of the main reasons that the Bucks have sputtered in the postseason, outside of the other roster issues there. So I'm very interested. If the price is right, if you can get into a territory where it's like, look, I've been more willing than most people to talk about those Clippers picks down the road. I think given that they've turned things around, that might even move me a little bit more in that direction. I'm willing to talk about other first-round picks. But when you already have a guy who looks like a core piece and fits so nicely with the guys already on hand and any future iterations of the team, it is where I draw the line, because I'm still not sure, given all the other restraints, that adding Giannis, assuming he could get healthy by the end of the year, would change their title equity this year. So I'm very interested, but there's a line, and the line is at VJ for me.
So let's like just be real for a minute. There is no Giannis discussion without VJ. Like Paul George, Jared McCain, and picks. I just don't think there's any realistic way that is going to be the best bid on the market. It really comes down to, are you willing to include VJ Edgecombe in a trade for Giannis and build a big three of Embiid, Maxey, and Giannis? And I think the other thing I want to start off with is, I think anyone who says this is an obvious answer in either direction is not giving the gravity of the decision enough, or is not giving the decision enough gravity, is not really thinking about it enough. You know, I think I have a way that I would lean. I'll probably get to that towards the end of my little ramble here. But I think, and look, I really don't want to both sides. I don't like both sidesing anything. I think that's a real bad mentality to get into in 2026. But I think this is one where clearly both sides have some merit. Both sides have some serious concern, and both arguments can end up being a mistake. Like it will cause me sleepless nights if you sit here and say, no, I'm not going to add Giannis Antetokounmpo on my team. And it's going to cause me sleepless nights if you trade VJ Edgecombe. Both are true. And I think if you're getting any good sleep with either of those decisions, not that any of us here or on this chat are going to be making that decision, but if Daryl Morey is sleeping well at any point over the next couple of weeks, I don't think he's doing your job. And if you think that it is an easy decision, I don't think you're giving the gravity of it enough weight. So, like, look, you get Giannis, you have a really good chance of winning a title if you stay healthy. There's just no going around that. And that if is probably why I lean no on including VJ Edgecombe right now. If Giannis was like the Iron Man he was 3 or 4 years ago, forget the age, even if he's today's age, but as active and available as he previously was, I probably go yes. Because quite frankly, Giannis and Maxey and Grimes and Kelly and whatever spare parts you have left, I think have a chance of getting to an NBA Finals. Like if you just tell me Giannis and Maxey are going to be on the court through the playoff run, I think you have a real chance over the next 2 years, next 3 years, next 4 years, however long Giannis is an MVP caliber player, of making a championship run. Add in Joel Embiid and getting some good luck on that front. And quite frankly, that those odds that you need of good luck on Joel Embiid don't look as insurmountable as they previously did. And you could have something truly, truly special. But it all depends on Giannis being healthy for a long playoff run. And I'm just less confident of that now than I was a couple of years ago. So, you know, to me, it comes down to, like I said, how much you think you can rely on Giannis being healthy and how many years you think Giannis can be an MVP caliber player. If you think that is a low chance of him being healthy for a playoff run, then you say absolutely not. If you think he only has like a year or 2 or 3 left of an MVP caliber player, you say probably not. But if you think he has 3+ years of being an MVP caliber player, and you think he has a chance of being a getting through a playoff run, I do think you have to consider it. Like I said, I would lean towards no. I probably, quite frankly, have to think about it a lot more because this is a franchise-altering decision in either direction, no matter whether you make it or not. But I do think people, there is almost like a knee-jerk reaction of don't touch my young players. There's almost like a litmus test of what makes a true fan. And I do think this is one where you have to strongly consider both aspects. I would lean no, but I'm not going to shame anyone who thinks like, yeah, I'd really consider that. I think it's something you have to really think about.
So Kyle,
there's almost like a purity test of being a fan sometimes online. And it's like, don't touch the young players. I just think you have to think of the whole aspect.
Well, real quick with that. First, Bree has put up a poll there in the chat. Everybody, please go vote on it. I'm already looking at some of the early results. It's pretty one-sided. But with that, Kyle, talking to you after the Houston game, and you were just explaining how great it was as you and Derek were sitting there side by side talking to each other of, man, Sixers win this really entertaining game and all, but I couldn't sit there and ignore the fact that Kevin Durant was doing what Kevin Durant was doing, and it was Kevin Durant. And then you mentioned when people trade for Kevin Durant and just simply going back to it's Kevin Durant. It's Giannis. You can't ignore the fact that it's Giannis, and you have to have that discussion. That being said, the other thing that's standing out to me as we talk about Bree putting up the poll there in the chat, monitoring the chat while you guys are talking, and even online as this story started to leak out there over the last 24 hours, as you mentioned, is the mere fact that the Sixers have a guy that most fans are saying, I wouldn't even trade Giannis for him because they hit a home run on the draft pick that they got with the young guy that they do have. Now, that being said, he is Giannis. You do have to explore every possibility. You have to turn over every rock and look at everything that you possibly can to have these discussions that you do to see if it makes sense to bring Giannis and pair him up with, ideally, I think we all know what that would look like with the rest of the group. But you can't ignore this. When someone like this at this level becomes available, you just simply cannot ignore it and just brush it off. There is a conversation that needs to be had. Now, in the end, I am with you both that, yeah, I'm just not breaking up what the future could look like with how things are going right now, where we have discussed this basketball team that even in the current iteration, that if things are right, they can make some noise, and who knows what happens when you get into the actual dance. But Giannis is Giannis, and you certainly have to discuss it, and that's where we are. But for people to feel the way that they do about VJ Edgecombe is a win for the Sixers because of what he has done through the 40-plus games of his young career here, where there are a ton of people talking about a 9-time All-Star, a Finals MVP, a 9-time All-NBA player, and just flat out pushing it to the side saying, yeah, Giannis is great, but I'm not giving up on VJ Edgecombe right now for Giannis. And then they want to point out the injuries in the playoffs and missing games during the regular season now. And Kyle, you brought up the fact that he is injured right now, is going to be out for a bit. That's where the Sixers are right now.
We'll see how injured he is, Devon, by the way.
1,000%.
I've gotten some gentle reminders from the chat that perhaps there's a listen, I don't know.
Even that night when he limped off the court, people were a little, okay. But and it lost by 2 in that game, by the way, everybody. But yeah, I hear you.
So let me circle back on something that Derek said about what they can offer in terms of like they can't get there with like a Paul and picks or Paul and Jared and picks. I'm not necessarily sure I agree, if only because the teams that are the draft pick heavy teams outside of OKC, none of them are teams that Giannis is putting his hand up and saying, I'm going to play there. Like the teams that have the most draft capital to trade are Brooklyn, Charlotte, Memphis, Sacramento, Utah, the Wizards. None of those teams are trading for Giannis this season. Now, maybe we get to the offseason and it's like I'll use Brooklyn as an example. Maybe in the offseason, Brooklyn just undergoes like a wild transformation. They trade for Giannis. He figures out whoever the co-star is he wants to play with. They acquire him. But that's the only one outside of OKC is the obvious. Like they just trade everything, right? They clear the decks and they say, we have $1 billion first-round picks and we go get him. You can't outbid them. But in terms of the other teams, like if he wants to go to New York, he'll force his way to New York. New York's got like 3 firsts they can trade. The Sixers have 3 firsts they can trade, and they don't just have their own. So that changes the calculus a little bit there. If you're looking at like Miami, for example, Miami doesn't have the interesting young talent necessarily. Like they don't have the equivalent of, that's where VJ would come in because Miami's got some picks, but Miami's probably trading Tyler Hero outgoing in that trade. And I don't think he falls in the category of the way Shams reported this earlier of enticing young player and emphasis on the first round draft pick capital. So a lot of these teams that are actually making quote unquote aggressive offers are teams that have already traded first round picks away and have, mortgaged their futures to some extent to make other moves. So I don't agree that they can't get to the table with a pick-heavy offer, because frankly, a lot of these teams that are trying to get Giannis right now, the big money guys are older players that they're going to have to reroute anyway. It's Karl Anthony Towns is probably not someone that the Bucks are building around. That's going to be a multi-team framework that he goes elsewhere. A bunch of picks go to Milwaukee, and Giannis goes to New York. Tyler Hero, maybe the Bucks really want to build around Tyler Hero moving forward. I would find that hard to believe. I think they can get to the table. I don't think it requires necessarily, if it's something that's happening right here, right now, before the deadline next week, I think they could absolutely get there if they were motivated enough to do so. I'm just not sure they're motivated enough to do so. I don't think this is an organization that has operated as a one team or one move away, one trade away type of team over the last year or so. It has very much been like, this is a retool year. We'll see what we get from Paul. We'll see what we get from Joel. But it's about Maxey. It's about VJ. It's about taking steps into the future.
Yeah, I just think some team will get creative in a way to generate some picks if they really have a chance of getting him. I would be surprised. Like you kind of talked yourself out of the value of the Clippers pick during your initial, monologue on this.
It's not my job to convince the Bucks that that's a valuable pick.
But if that pick ends up being a middling pick as well, the Sixers might have a couple of picks, but they don't have anything that is really super high value. And McCain, having lost all the value that he has over the last 14 or so months, doesn't help matters either. Look, if you can get him without giving up VJ, sign me up. I would absolutely be on board.
All right, let's take our first pause of the show. Keep adding your votes to Bree's poll that she placed there in the chat. On the other side, we get to our Wawa Wednesday big deal. We also have to talk about the teams that were at least thrown out there as possible destinations for Giannis, if he is in fact on the move. Deadline is 8 days away, next Thursday on the 5th. Just a show reminder, we will have our show at 2 p.m. that day, everybody, on Thursday at 2 p.m. So we will be with you an hour before the deadline, discussing, as we all have always done here on the show during trade deadline day, an hour before the trade deadline, 2 p.m., we get started to talk about some things. And if things do start to be on the move for Giannis and some Bucks, does that mean other players on their roster are potentially available elsewhere? We'll get into all of that. But first, on the other side, it's a Wawa Wednesday, Wawa big deal. And maybe some of you haven't seen it. Maybe you have already in the Discord. I know I actually peeked in there and I saw it. But we're going to tell you about the Wawa Wednesday big deal when we get back right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast.
Guys, we work a lot of late nights covering the Sixers. There are very few things that get me out of bed and out of the house in the morning, but the Wawa $5 big breakfast deal is one of them. It's a sizzly, whatever sizzle you want. I'm a bacon, egg, and cheese on a croissant guy myself, but they have all kinds of options. Any size, hot or iced coffee. I need a big coffee in the morning. And a hash brown. That's the whole thing, all for just $5. It's a go-to for me when I need something to fill me up in the morning, get me going. Also, tastes delicious. And if you want to switch it up and make it sweet, you can use their new caramel chocolate craze flavors too. I'm a caramel guy myself. I don't know, maybe Bree, maybe Devon are more on the chocolate kick. There's something there for everybody. And most importantly, it's $5. You're in and out. The deal's only in the mornings, 5 to 11 a.m. It's a nice window. You're up early. You're heading to work. You guys know it. Gotta have a Wawa.
And guys, next up, we want to tell you about Xfinity and their 5-year price guarantee. What if you could have reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi? And what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? That's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Imagine Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home work together, that finds and fixes problems before you even notice them, like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a sixth sense. And that lets you stream the game even when the whole family's online. All your devices working in perfect harmony for 5 whole years. And here's the best part. No annual contracts, no hidden fees, and Xfinity's best equipment included. Take it from me, a lot can change in 5 years. Championships are won, records are broken, dreams grow bigger. But your Wi-Fi, it should stay reliable and the price should stay put. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply.
We're back here on the PHLY Sixers podcast here. Derek Kyle, Devon Bree, the president of basketball operations, all of you talking about Giannis, the big news, of course, of the day, discussing Giannis and potentially wanting out by the trade deadline next week, or maybe it just waits until the summer. But hey, we still have 8 days. Anything can happen. Let's get to the Wawa Wednesday big deal quickly here, as we want to talk to everybody about, as we discuss what the backcourt looks like and how nobody wants to touch the backcourt overall. Well, your backcourt, they are the Slam magazine covers, everybody. If people have not seen it, look at the guys on the cover. Look at those two rocking the throwback, and everybody's loving the black jerseys. They've gotten so big that they're on the cover of the Slam magazine this week. And look, it's pretty cool. It's something that, as we talk about, so many of the fan base don't want VJ Edgecombe going anywhere. And with the start that he is having to his career, the all-NBA type of season that Tyrese Maxey is having, and these two as the building block of the future going forward, it's really cool to see something like this come into play for Tyrese Maxey 6 years in, and certainly the young guy in VJ Edgecombe for what they've been able to do. Alex Suber's our guy, friend of the show. He took those photos. He made all that happen. Turned out pretty good, huh, Kyle?
Yeah, it's nice as a reminder that some people still read, to know that magazines exist.
Yes.
Shout out to our guy, Alex Subers.
Good writing is great. I agree.
Good writing is pretty cool. So everybody go out there, get that magazine. Maybe it's a keepsake. You never know. So many. I still have a bunch of mine from when they started, and I have a ton of Slam magazine covers, including the Iverson ones that are very famous with the fro, with his his hair out, with the chains and all the cool stuff. Go get your Slam magazine as we talk about those two guys. And they are the Wawa Wednesday big deal. And make sure you go 5 to 11 a.m., limited time only, 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. daily at Wawa. Any sizzly or any size hot or iced coffee and a hash brown for just $5 with the $5 Wawa big deal there. So go check it out. Any sizzly, any combination. Kyle likes the croissant. You can go get anything you want. Biscuit,
bacon, egg, and cheese on a croissant, baby. Can't beat it.
I'm so close to agreeing with Kyle on this. Croissant all the way, but I do want a sausage, egg, and cheese.
That's fine. Like, I'm not gonna
get that
listen.
on a croissant.
I'm a breakfast bacon guy. You're a breakfast sausage guy. There's nothing wrong with that. We live in two different Americas. That's all.
But the croissant is absolutely the key part of that. 100%.
I agree. Just take the eggs off, and we're rocking and rolling.
Oh, for shame!
You already know that.
You an ant, man, with no eggs.
I just can't do it. All right, let's move back over to the conversation of, if, as Derek said before the break, if you can find a way to do this without including VJ, Tyrese Maxey's there, you're rocking and rolling. So what's the fit look like then? If Giannis is in fact a part of a deal, he's in Philadelphia, he's ready to go. What's the fit look like, Derek? Let's start with you. The fit on the floor with Giannis, however they get it done, but what's the fit?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not the most natural fit with Embiid, obviously. Like with, the way that they want to go to work, the way they want to attack facing up, it is a little clunky in that regard. I will say Embiid, I have pretty good confidence in that three-point shot getting back. I think Embiid can be a spacer. Like, I think the first 2 months or so of the season, he couldn't hit anything from three. Over the last 6 or 7 weeks, he's shooting above 50% on long twos. He's shooting better from three over the last couple of games. And I think you saw him, especially early in that game last night, you saw him really look to be a facilitator out on the perimeter too, and not really dominate the ball. I think he's done a better job lately of really getting into stuff early and not necessarily waiting until that double team gets there. So I think Embiid is more adaptable than a lot of people give him credit. The other thing I'll say is, like, when you look at the splits of Milwaukee, like I saw some people in the chat of like, well, Giannis isn't a shooter. You already don't have enough shooting. And that's true for the most part. But when you start looking at the splits with Milwaukee, there's a couple reasons that the Sixers are pretty mediocre in terms of shooting. one, they just have a lot of non-shooters. And if you put Giannis on the floor, he's going to eat into the minutes. Yeah, Paul, and that's a loss, but also of Barlow, of Walker, of Kelly, like a lot of your non-shooters, Giannis is going to be taking those minutes. And second of all, he just creates shots. And part of the reason the Sixers do not shoot well when Embiid is off the floor, I wrote an article a couple weeks ago of the splits with and without Embiid, and every guard player is a significantly better shooter from deep with Embiid on the floor. He's the only one that really draws rotations, and he's the best passer for his position on the team. And Giannis, when you start looking at the splits of the Bucks with and without him, like they shoot 42% from three with him on the floor, 48% from the corners. That falls all the way down to 38% when he is on the bench. Like they are like Embiid, the splits are pretty clear. He makes everyone else have easier shots from the perimeter, and the Sixers could absolutely use that. And, I know maybe the Dame Giannis pairing didn't necessarily work out the way a lot of people hoped. I think that acclimation process was a little slower, so maybe the adaptability of Giannis with a player like Maxey isn't quite as clear cut. I do have some faith that those three will be able to figure it out. I do have a lot of faith that he, along with Embiid, will make players like Quentin Grimes, even Kelly Oubre's jobs a lot easier. And I just think there's so much talent that, like, if you can get it without VJ, yeah, it might not be the cleanest fit right off the jump, but I do think there's a little bit more adaptability, especially among Embiid and Maxey, than some people give him credit for.
Yeah, I think Maxey and Giannis is a pretty hand-in-glove fit in terms of how their skill sets overlap. You're right that the Dame Giannis combo did not work out as well as I think people were hoping, but I think also a lot of that was just the infrastructure imploding a little bit there between, our friend Glenn Rivers and his general brand of basketball, but also Middleton falling off, Brook Lopez getting old. You then swap out, like you make the Kuzma trade. There are a lot of things that happened that contributed to that. The lack of health that those two had together to get time on the floor. So Maxey Giannis, I'm 0.0% worried about. I
also,
would.
Tyrese is 25. Dame is still an all-star, but he's way younger. Yeah.
Yes. So the Joel Giannis part of it is certainly where you have to think a little bit more about it because they want to operate in some similar areas. I do agree with Derek in the sense that, we talk a lot about spacing, this guy's not a shooter, but in this case, it's different when it's Dom Barlow or Jabari Walker standing in the corner versus Giannis running a pick and roll or Giannis being the screener coming downhill, and he can handle, and he's going to dunk over people, and he's a grab and go guy in transition. He gets to the free throw line constantly. Like, it's just a different sort of player, and you can't look at him the same. And it's also, by the way, easier to get shooters at the 1 through 3 positions than it is to get shooters at the 4 and 5 spots. Like, that's just fundamentally true that the smaller guys in the lineup are more likely to be shooters. It's a little easier to get them, whether it's, on the waiver wire, in the draft, free agency, wherever it might be. And so I think you could pretty easily, with a little bit of time, create the ecosystem that allows everybody to thrive. And I think it also sets up for some interesting pairings, right? Like when Joel's on the bench, being able to have Maxey and Giannis on the floor is great. When one or both of those guys are resting, now you facilitate if they keep VJ, which again, I'm pushing for either you keep VJ or I'm not making this deal, the VJ Joel stuff that we've seen develop a little bit here at the start of 2026, you lean into that more. Like there's a lot of natural duos and combinations that you can work with there. So I think the big concern for me is that this is basically giving up on this year as a year you can go on a run, not because they wouldn't be talented enough, although there's a little bit of that deep in the rotation, but because I am just not a believer in you make the big star trade mid-season and then go win anything of consequence, particularly when we don't know when Giannis is going to be back on the floor. Maybe it's as simple as he gets the magic spray bottle that they keep at European soccer games and all of a sudden, Giannis is looking pretty good. That 4 to 6 weeks, looking more like 4 to 6 days. And you get like 2 months of basketball with him, Joel, Maxey all on the floor. But then that requires essentially 2 straight months of regular season basketball where everybody is healthy and everybody plays the maximum amount of games, excluding back-to-backs and whatnot. Because if you get to mid-April and May and prayers up if they were to ever play in June, but not my breath. If you were to ever get to that point, you just need more reps than they'd be able to get by the time they hit that time to be able to hang with the best teams in the league. Maybe they could just brute force it. I'm always super skeptical of that happening. I think to make an impactful deadline acquisition to try to win a title, it's got to be more of the Marc Gasol as the final piece in Toronto type of move than it is a, hey, this guy's the foundation of your team now type of player. So I think that's the tricky part, and also why I'm restraining my offer if I'm getting in the mix for Giannis, because I think it would be more about next year. And in that case, it's like, no, I wait till the summer. I wait and see what happens then. I just see how this year shakes out, leave it to the offseason. And then at that point, that's probably when an OKC, if they don't win the title this year, maybe they start sniffing around and saying, hey, we're unloading 15 first-round picks for Giannis or whatever it might be. So I like the fit. I wish I loved the fit. And I'm also just concerned about how quickly they can get everybody up to speed.
Even with the fit concerns, as much as we've talked about the East, though, being open, does that factor into it just simply because it may not have to be perfect because the Eastern Conference is a little bit more open than we expected at the beginning of the year, where Detroit, New York, as we talked about, you guys had New York, I had Detroit right now in that tier by themselves, but everywhere else, it's all bunched up. So could that play into it too, where it may not even matter this year, even though that may not be the goal, to your point?
Which I still can't believe that we have New York and you have Detroit in that top tier. It really just feels like we're living in the upside down right now.
That's because Derek and I were factoring in that the Knicks are getting Giannis at the deadline. That was our math on that one. Listen, I think it's a fair point, Devon. I don't think it's something that you ignore, that this is I don't want to call it a weak year for the East, but certainly there's
no one stamped into this is like my conference.
Yes. I think there's good depth of, quality teams you'd play in the playoffs, but nobody that you're like, man, I just would hate to see them in a series. Like we've said, I think it is going to be very matchup based. And I do think Giannis just gives you more outs against a lot of these teams. Like, he changes your team in a pretty foundational way, but I have a lot of reservations about the midseason, hey, this is your star player type of trade. Like, I just feel like there's very little evidence that ever turns into immediate success. And it has nothing really to do with the talent and the fit and all that. It's just about that type of, mind meld that you need to have in the toughest moments in order to beat the best teams and win a championship.
Yeah, look, I understand some skepticism about being able to integrate that quickly. I do, like, there's some percentage chance that you could integrate him quickly and be off running. And is that lower than the percentage chance of Embiid being healthy enough to carry you 4 rounds of a playoff? Because I do think having Giannis decreases how much you need Joel Embiid to be a truly, a true force in the Eastern Conference. I'm not sure. I think what I would say is, I think if you were like New York or Boston, if the Sixers made this trade, you would go like, oh, they're a lot more dangerous in a playoff series.
Yep.
The question is, are they able to put together 4 playoff series, or will their lack of familiarity come in that context? And yeah, look, I understand that odds might not be perfect that you're going to figure it out that quickly, but I think their upside certainly, if you do catch lightning in a bottle, so to speak, it can be pretty dangerous.
All right. When we come back here, everybody, we need to talk a little bit more, because we're saying all this with Giannis, Edgecombe, Maxey, all in the mix. So who's not going to be here? Yes, Paul George, but you do have to send out a few other things in this to potentially make a deal happen for Giannis. Do other teams have to get involved? Later, we'll talk about the Bucks roster and Would you want anything from there if Giannis is on the move elsewhere and not Philadelphia? And then we'll also discuss the stretch with Rothman Orthopedics in that final segment as well. It's the PHLY Sixers podcast on a Wednesday, 8 days away. Giannis is potentially on the move, and the Sixers are in a place right now where we can talk about them making a deal for Giannis because they're an all right basketball team. When we come back, we keep it going right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast.
All right, guys, next up, we want to tell you about Monarch because we all have our own personal finance goals. A common one, which I share, is to put money down for a house. Because Monarch brings your entire financial life together in one dashboard on your laptop or your phone. My absolute favorite thing about Monarch is just how clearly it displays exactly where your money is going to so you can change your spending habits. Monarch is my go-to finance app. We all think it's important to manage your finances, and I believe that Monarch can help you do so. Unlike most personal finance apps, Monarch is built to make you proactive, not just reactive, with AI-powered insights to deliver results personalized for you. Monarch delivers real results for people. Monarch helped users save on average of $200 per month after joining. Managing your money doesn't have to be a struggle this year. Set yourself up for financial success and achieve your financial goals for good. Monarch is the all-in-one tool that makes proactive money management simple all year long. Use code PHLY at monarch.com for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code PHLY.
We are officially into the new year, and it's time to make your homes work smarter, not harder. With a TrueMark Financial Home Equity line of credit, you can tap into your home's equity to handle renovations, upgrades, or whatever is next on your list. A TrueMark Financial HELOC Select gives you the flexibility to borrow when you need it on your timeline. You start with a revolving line of credit, use only what you need, and when you are ready, you can lock in all or part of your balance at a fixed rate for predictable payments. You only pay interest on what you use, and as you pay it back, that credit becomes available again, no reapplying, no extra steps. Learn more about TrueMark Financial's home equity line of credit at TrueMark.com or stop by one of their 24 branches located to get started. That's locations, everybody. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA and is an equal opportunity lender, NMLS 404938. Back here on the PHLY Sixers podcast on a Wednesday. We're all hanging out here. Make sure you hit the like button, everybody. Like and subscribe to the show. Leave a comment. Let us know how you feel. Sign up to become a diehard member at allphly.com. Instant recaps to the games from Kyle. Derek with some profiles, the same for Kyle as well. allphly.com. Go hang out there. Sign up. Become a member. Get to kick it with us. Talk some basketball, playoff team, and maybe you have Giannis there as well. All right. Quickly, though, if somebody's just jumping in here right now, Kyle, and they're saying, wait a minute, come on, guys, let's be serious. How are you going to trade and get Giannis without giving up Maxey, VJ, or Joel Embiid? And why would anybody want Paul George, even though he just hit 9 threes last night, 32 points in their blowout win over the Bucks? How are the Sixers going to make that happen? Why would any other team do that without taking one of those three?
Of course, I left my mic muted to start that soliloquy. So
I was just going to see how long we could let him keep going.
I saw it and was like, damn, messed it up. So here's what I would say. I think, obviously, if Paul is outgoing in this trade, I don't think he's staying in Milwaukee. I don't think he's going to Milwaukee in the first place. I think, like many trades that the Bucks could potentially make, it is all about the first round picks. He is the name in here because of the salary, right? The salary is pretty close to a match with Giannis. It's just a very straightforward money move. I'd have to check the exact numbers on that, but it makes it very easy to facilitate a deal. Weirdly, it's easier for the Sixers to trade for a genuine superstar on paper than it is to trade for like Trey Murphy or even like Bobby Portis, who we can probably talk about at some point. It's just like they have all these very big contracts and all these very small contracts. And so it's tough to get into that mid-tier of player. But yeah, look, trading for Giannis would require, I would say, probably every pick that is not strapped down. So that's the Clippers stuff. That's your own firsts, as many as you can move. Seconds, like I saw some screenshots from not ESPN's trade machine. I think it's Fanspo that people were sending around. We had one in the Discord that might have had like 9 picks in there. Not all those are first round picks, but and I think that's a bit of an exaggeration, but you're probably getting into the territory. So I think frankly, if you were to get into the doorway with this deal, and the Bucks are genuinely considering it just because you can give them so many firsts, the real key to the deal would probably be figuring out what is happening with Paul George, because I don't suspect that that's a player that Milwaukee has much interest in as a right now proposition. And so that requires look around the league for a team that needs a veteran, productive player, but doesn't need him to be Paul George from OKC or Indiana at that money. It's a short list of teams, right? Like maybe Jimmy Butler being hurt. The Warriors have looked at Paul George in the past. They say, we're sending, now this turns into like a 4 or 5 team, just insanity trade. Jimmy's going here. Paul's going to Golden State. The picks are going to the Bucks. Giannis is going to Philly. And it just turns into this overly complicated thing when the Warriors would probably just try to trade for Giannis if they could in that circumstance. So, look, do I think it's realistic? Probably not, because it is a little bit dicey with the big salaries they have and our reluctance, or at least my reluctance, to trade someone like VJ. So it is why I don't think he ends up here, and they're not really a serious bidder, but it's still fun to talk about.
Yep. All right, a little bit of the asking about you guys just simply discussing, is there anyone else on the roster if Giannis is on the move? Where does that go? Where does that lead? And that means maybe tearing down their roster and positioning themselves for a draft pick. With that being said, is there anyone on the roster? You mentioned Portis, Kyle, so we can start there, but anybody else on that roster that you would have any interest in at all aside from Giannis that would help the Sixers out this year, but potentially going down the line?
Derek, do you want to do the Bobby Portis salary stuff so we can get that out of the way at least?
Yeah, I mean, so Portis is making $13.4 million this year. You know, I guess if you went like the Kelly plus Drummond plus maybe like Eric Gordon, you might be able to make it work. He honestly doesn't make quite as much as I was thinking that he did. Even still, like, why would, you know, what is Milwaukee looking for? Although he does have a multi-year deal left. I think he's got, what does he have? Like 2 more years after this one left. So maybe they'd look to get off that.
Right.
But I just, like, unless you're willing to give up a pick, I'm not sure that they're going to really be looking just to salary dump it. I think that's a pretty good contract for them. But it is more matchable than I thought. Like, I know I said earlier in the chat that it would be impossible, but I do think you can get there. You just have to go Kelly. You'd have to go Drum and another third salary to make that work. The question is whether Josh is going to want to pay the luxury tax to keep Bobby Portis, because you don't trade all of your tradable salary, all of your matchable salary, and then have an ability to duck the tax. So you have to make that conversation with Josh. But yeah, I mean, look, if you're going to pursue anyone else on there, I think he is the natural place to go to.
Yeah, because we have some Rollins mentions in the chat.
We're not trading Rollins.
They're not trading Rollins. And,
No.
and frankly, I don't think there's a lot of overlap with the max contract guard and the number 3 overall pick that they just made this past year. Like, good player, would be good to have on the team, but that they're not giving up real stuff to get him, and it would take real stuff to go get him. I think the trouble, so Bobby Portis, in terms of profile of player, I think makes sense. Like, shot the 3 really well this year. Like, he's genuinely added that to his game over the years, and historically has been a pretty good defensive rebounder. So you put that type of guy at the 4 spot with who they have. I think that makes a lot of sense. On the other hand, I think Bobby Portis pretty immediately makes your defense worse. Like, I think he has been a pretty bad defender throughout his career. Mm-hmm. And because that salary number basically requires trading Oubre, I think that is honestly one of the biggest reasons that I'm probably not in the mix for him, because you remove Kelly, who we've said many times, good switchable defender across different matchups, helps you preserve, like good in the scheme, good across different types of players. When you remove him and then bring in Bobby, I think that's a pretty big downgrade on that end of the floor. I'm not sure they make up enough of that with the shooting and the rebounding. He is a positional fit. He is a guy that makes sense on paper with who they have here. But I think what they need to give up to get that fit, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, essentially. So I think it's a name that makes sense, but I would probably back away from it. If he was making like Najee Marshall, 8-9 million type of money, and you could get there with like Drummond and a couple minimums, I think that's where you say, yeah, let's figure out a way to get Bobby Portis. But having to probably include Oubre makes it really tough for me to accept.
I don't know what you're talking about, Kyle. Their half-court defense and pick-and-roll defense was just perfect last night.
He'll rebound for you. He had 12 boards the last night. It is. You know what? Let's take our final break. When we come back, we can maybe throw around a few other names. We can talk about some news and notes that are going on around the league as well, something that just dropped while we were doing the show that impacts the Western Conference. We'll get into all of that. Plus, we have the great Rothman Orthopedics. We have a great sponsor there with you that we'll talk to you about that with the stretch that we have. Final segment on the other side, continuing to talk, plus the poll results from Bree right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast.
Guys, everybody comes into the new year with big resolutions, especially with cooking and eating. But if you don't have the time to cook and you want to eat healthy, Factor Meals makes it easy with fully prepped meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs. So you can eat well without the shopping, without the cooking. Here's one of the best parts too. The meals are ready in 2 minutes. That's crazy. I know it sounds impossible, but Factor makes it possible. You also get quality functional ingredients, including lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole food ingredients, and healthy fats. No refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners. Also, a lot of variety, 100 rotating weekly meals, high protein, calorie smart, Mediterranean diet, GLP-1 support, and more. No prep, no stress, always fresh, never frozen. That's Factor. Head to factormeals.com/PHLY50 off. Use the code PHLY50 off to get 50% off of your first Factor box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Make healthier eating easy with Factor. Philly sports fans, listen up. It's the season of gifting, and if you're looking for something truly unforgettable this year, or if you just forgot to get something nice for somebody for Christmas, because we are in January, I've got the perfect idea. Got to check out the incredible work from Philadelphia sports artist Jordan Spector at SpectorSportsArt.com. I own one of Jordan's pieces myself. You can see a beautiful piece here of Saquon Barkley from the Snow Game. That one, you know, these aren't just posters you hang on the wall. They're museum-level artworks of the greatest moments and icons in Philly sports history. Now, Devon Givens holding it up is not coming along with what you're going to get, but the collection comes in prints, canvases, even athlete partner trading cards, including a piece of Brandon Graham's real game-worn jersey and one of those cards from that matchup in New Orleans against the Chiefs. If you got a diehard sports fan in your life or just want to treat yourself, it's the kind of gift they'll talk about forever. SpectorSportsArt.com. That's SpectorSportsArt.com. Grab something epic for the Philly sports fan in your life.
Darn, I think Kyle's worn 3 different outfits so far today.
Listen, I'm teleporting. I've just been absolutely everywhere, fellas. You gotta go with the wardrobe when super producer Bree says we need something different for Spector Sports Art.
Great job. Of course, Kyle teleporting and changing his clothes the way that he does so quickly. We all wish we could do that. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast here. Let's get to the super chat from Mr. Sandman. Bring me a dream. Some asking for Giannis. That would be a dream. Maybe some other moves that could potentially happen. Says, with Giannis, Embiid, and Maxey on this team, who are your first, second, and third scoring options for the Sixers?
I would say it depends on the game. I think the guy who's going to have the ball the most is probably Giannis.
Yeah.
But I think this is a really salient point and good question, because we've talked a lot this year and even last year too about part of the reason there's a lack of friction as Maxey has ascended to more of the starring role is that relationship is years in the making. They've built the trust over time. And then if the Greek Freak comes in here with a sledgehammer and it's just like, give me the damn ball, and he is a ball dominant player, I don't know that that's as straightforward a process. Giannis, for all his many gifts and good traits, I'll say has been a little particular about what he wants and who he wants to play with and how he wants to play. Hasn't always been a public thing, but as we've watched this play out this year, certainly there's a little bit of like, he just wants to have it his way in every way. I mean, they fired a coach who was 30-13. That's not me sticking up for Adrian Griffin, by the way. I'm not saying that he's like Brett Auerbach or anything, but
Jay Crowder
when a guy comes in there because you want him, and then you get to 30-13 and you're like, get this guy the hell out of here. That's a personality that is going to stir some things up. So I do think, to Mr. Sandman's point, that is an important consideration that all parties would probably be discussing before any type of trade would go down.
Listen, the fact that you're seeing stuff now where he still has demands, where there are reports, multiple reports out there that if he's on the move elsewhere, he wants Drew Holiday to follow him wherever he is via trade from that team. So to your point, Kyle, it's still happening. It's still happening. Not to mention, Thanasis has to be in the deal if he's being moved.
Of course. Alex, too.
Yes, Alex.
We're trading two-way guys.
Right. Stick Alex on the blue coats. He'll enjoy Wilmington.
Josh, buddy, you're using that 15th roster spot, and you will pay that luxury tax because you need his brothers on the roster.
Marchand Beauchamp, I hope you enjoyed that two-way deal, buddy.
Back to Milwaukee you go. I was scared when Thanasis got in because somebody was still on the floor. I think it was VJ was still on the floor, and then he was talking to VJ. I guess he was like dapping him up, congratulating him. I'm like, please get him away from VJ. He is too wild. Something wild, crazy is going to happen. He's going to hurt VJ. Get him away. Get him off the floor. Just get him off the floor. But it's a package deal. Thanasis and Broom in practice, as SB Cole says there with that one. So thank you, Mr. Sandman, for that one. But yeah, man, he's still demanding he wants to be paired up with Drew Holiday, even though that's why Dame Lillard was in Portland, because he wanted him, in Milwaukee, because he wanted him to move Drew out to replace him. Now he wants him back in, and it's just a whole wild thing. What's coming? But look, he's
a demanding guy. Devon.
He's a demanding guy.
Put it
yes,
that way.
As we saw with the latter incident after that game where they lost to the Sixers at the arena.
I got to send Bree something real quick. That just reminded me.
Right.
I mean, that is a relationship you have to repair. Like, you've got to find out whether or not that latter guy is still repaired, whether still employed, whether or not he's going to be able to get over this.
It's a real thing.
It's a big deal. Yeah.
Bree, I'm sending you a text right now. You can, whenever you get it, you can transfer that and throw it up on the screen for all our.
All right, well, before she does that, let's get to the stretch presented by Rothman Orthopedics. Rothman Orthopedics, visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more. If you haven't, you had to shovel a lot. Snow, ice, maybe you slipped, maybe you just tweaked your back or your shoulder. I don't know what happened. Rothman Orthopedics is the place for you to go. So let's get to the stretch, and that is, as we've done this here with Rothman, the stretch of games that are important here for the Sixers. So, Britt, let's let them have it. Thursday, tomorrow, we got a 7 o'clock start time with the Sacramento Kings. So, guys, look, terrible Monday. You had a great Tuesday. Sweep these two games, all right? Sweep them. Get these two games. Improve to 26-21 before you have to go on this road trip that starts on Monday. And that's Los Angeles, who, as Kyle has talked about, they are on a roll right now with the way that they're playing. So that's not going to be an easy game. Your second night of a back-to-back in Golden State, and then the trade deadline on Thursday. You could be shorthanded because maybe there's a deal and a player is moved in any particular trade on that Thursday where they're not eligible to play that day. And so that's why just starting off Derek, with Thursday and Saturday against the Kings and the Pelicans, you got to win these 2 games.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. And we talked a little bit about like using this I guess if we transition to a dream trade deadline to a more realistic one, we talked a little bit about using this pre-trade deadline stretch of games to evaluate what you really have and to figure out whether or not you should be buyers, sellers, stand patters, taxpayers, or whatnot. And I'm not really sure we learned a whole heck of a lot. It is, we learned that this team can play very, very good basketball and can play some of the worst basketball you've ever seen in your life, which I think is probably just about where we had them pegged before. So yeah, it is great to get another couple of games in there. These next 2 games are really important because it does get a little bit tougher. Well, I was going to say when they leave the Wells or the Xfinity Mobile Arena, my apologies to our partners, Habits Die Hard. I was going to say it was going to get a little bit tougher when they go on the road, but like with this team,
they play well on the road.
I just want to
play poorly at home.
Real quick, shout out my guy, Robert Flom, who's over at 213 Hoops, who was personally responsible for this Clippers run that they just went on. He tweeted that if they went on a 15-3 run at any point in the season, he would print and eat the tweet. And they got to 15-3, and the Clippers fully embraced that being what they dubbed the paper bowl. And he made good on the bet. All the players, Kawhi, Nick Batum, they had people up on the wall with cardboard signs that had the tweet on it. And he went on a live stream and ate the tweet. That shows you how good the Clippers look right now. So
all I can say, and I don't want to get into too many details on here because I don't want people to really remember what I'm talking about. All I can say is it was a very pro move to pick something that is actually edible without harming your health. That's all I'll say.
Good job by Bree pulling up the graphic there. It was the Clippers social account went crazy. You guys should look up Paper Bowl Clippers. It was a very fun moment. It's one of those like natural viral moments we really don't get anymore. Things are just so manufactured across pro sports. That was a moment that it brought real warmth to my heart and some real paper to Rob Flom's belly. So good on him.
Gene says Derek still owes him a shoe.
It's not a shoe. It was not a shoe. Not going to go into any more details, but it was not a shoe.
So, and by the way, I bet you Rothman is not recommending to eat paper. No. So Rothman Rothman may be supporting the show, but they are not supporting the paper bowl tweet eating incident.
Not at all. Not at all. Also, I'll say this because it brings it back to PHLY. What's a better one based on a game result? The eating of the paper by Rich Homie Flom, or Bill Matz shaving his head if the Flyers beat the Avs and winning 7-3, and he goes on camera and shaves his head live on camera.
Bill definitely committed harder.
He did.
That is a genuine lifestyle change, and not only that, that's something that your wife has to deal with too. In his case, and I don't know how his missus feels about long hair versus the baldy, but I can imagine that when she found out, she was at least raising an eyebrow about it. So no disrespect to my homie Rob, but Bill full sending it, I think, is on a different level. So Derek, good on him for also following through.
Derek, real quick, we're going to overtime. AllPHLY.com to finish off the show. Everybody, thank you on the television side. We'll see you tomorrow for pregame, 6:30 start time. Sixers and Kings will have the coverage for you.
So if you guys were forced to do one or the other, let's pretend this is Fear Factor. Would you rather eat a shoe or eat a shoe? eat a piece of paper or shave your head?
So
I think I would clearly rather eat the paper.
I was going to say, I feel like this is going to be a split here based on our current ages.
But I feel like at some point shaving my head just for a trial balloon run might make sense because eventually I'm going to get there one day. But
I think for me, the reason I would pick paper is because I don't know how many years of this I have left, and I got to savor every year of like actual hair that I have.
You also get to wear a hat. And
look, Father Time is undefeated, but I'm still fighting the battle right now. So I think I'm eating the tweet. I think that's where I'm going. I'm holding on to my hair.
Yeah, look, it's 5 minutes versus however many months it takes to regrow hair. I don't know. I've never shaved my head. And to Kyle's point, like it's hanging in there now. I don't want to lose any more months I have left with it.
Yeah. So listen, I get my haircuts. I try to keep as sharp as I do as possible. It's no secret that I'm hanging on, and I've shaved my hair before, but I was much younger when I did that, just as an experiment in the summer. So, I mean, if I had to cut it, I would just cut it and just live with it. I'd be fine with it. Versus,
I'm also just terrified at what my skull looks like. I have no idea. I've never gotten close. Like, I haven't even had a buzz cut since I was probably like 10. So I have no idea what my skull looks like. I probably have the ugliest skull in the world. No way. Give me that paper.
All right. I think I did it like year 2 of college in the summer. Me and one of my best friends, he was just like, let's just go cut our hair. And we just cut our hair. And by the way, one of my best friends is my barber, and I rely on my daughters and my barber for right now. And they're like, not yet. He's like, not yet. And they're like, not yet, Dad. Don't worry about it. I don't care what any of those people say on your chat or whatever. So, but I would probably forget about. I'm not eating a piece of paper. I'm just not at this point in my life.
So,
to your point of view, Kyle,
Devon is also the pickiest eater out of the three of us. So, like, this tracks.
Yeah. So, by the way, there are a bunch of comments like this, but I'm just going to call out one. Yams said, I feel like shaving your head as a middle-aged guy isn't that big of a deal.
Right.
I want to let you know, I'm in my office right now with my door closed. My wife is only hearing 1/3 of this conversation. As we are in the middle of discussing this, I get 2 texts, one of which says, if you shave your head, I will leave you. So don't you tell me what is or isn't consequential for people as they get into their 30s. It matters, buddy. This is a decision that is made as much based on other people's opinions as my own. So you got to think about it that way. The paper is temporary. The hair, we don't know how long that's going to take.
Put a little sriracha on it and give me that 9x11, buddy.
Oh, man. But see, that's where we talk about the age a little differently, because I'm like, do I want to eat a piece of paper at this stage of my life versus another time?
Yeah, but you won't even eat eggs. So, of course, you're not going to pick paper. Of course.
Yeah, but I also, got my little scraps left, and I don't have a full beard like you guys, so I'm a little left I'm right in the middle of looking which way I'm going to cover up. If I had the full beard like you guys, then maybe it'd be a little bit easier for me, but I don't. So
your beard's fine. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, Bree, nothing wrong with the beard.
Bree, by the way, you already have right there. That's our VOD of the week. You got like a good 5 minutes of us talking about eating paper, shaving our heads, and shoes and all kinds of stuff here on the show. Only quick news and note that happened during our show here. Let's go news and notes here on this Wednesday. And that is, according to Shams, it was already reported that Steven Adams of the Houston Rockets, who we saw the Sixers play the Rockets, they dodged that with the rebounding battle that we talked about. And he was missing that game. He was going to be out for some time. Now it's reported that he has had season-ending surgery. He is going to be out for the remainder of the year. So another big blow to their roster, already without Fred VanVleet and now without Steven Adams. Clint Capella is going to be the primary backup, I'd imagine, behind Alperen Şengün. They do have some depth there, as we know, at the power forward position. If they wanted to go small from time to time, Tari Eason, they could probably get away with it. Jabari Smith, if they wanted to steal 3 to 5 minutes, depending on the matchup and situationally what they wanted to do. But Kyle, this is a big blow for the Houston Rockets, who, if they wanted to address the point guard position to give them a little more help there with Reed Shepherd, Amen Thompson, Aaron Holiday, well, now they like to play big, double bigs and all, and this changes some things that Ime Udoka can do with their front court.
Yeah, so when we talked about Houston before the year and I was a little skeptical of what they'd look like, it was not that anybody specifically would get injured, but once Fred VanVleet went down, it shrank their margin for error quite a bit. And if you had to deal with any kind of major injury, how does that work? How does that play out? And we saw Clint Capella in Philly. Boy, does that guy not look like he's played much this year. And maybe he works his way back into fighting shape, but I think he's been on the downturn for, a year, a couple years now at least. So it's a big, big loss. The luxury is that they still have Şengün, where he can play a nominal center, and the rest of the lineup is really big, right? And Devon, to your point, they're even bringing in guys off the bench who are 6'8", 6'9", 6'10" types that they can switch, and they are not necessarily reliant on Steven Adams to maintain their identity. What I will say is that they have been, for much of this year, a really, really good elite offensive rebounding team. And that's where he unlocked things for them, where it was just like, you're getting hammered by these guys on the glass. And Steven Adams specifically is this big, tough, strong dude who is just really tough to deal with for, most of 48 minutes. And so in that way, it's a huge, huge loss. Guy who's just a dependable veteran that I think really made a difference there. So can they overcome this? I think so, because I think the addition of Kevin Durant has added some more outs on offense, but it's a tough Western Conference. So we'll see where they end up. But I would not feel good about this if I was a Houston fan.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, like you said, they're a good team. They'll remain a good team, but that has created a pretty big hole for them. And defensively, that is a huge drop off because Capella is nowhere near what he previously was. And the combination of them not being necessarily a great pick and roll team, along with his clearly not moving and changing direction like he previously did, that is a much less effective player that you in no way want to rely upon, but they definitely have a hole in their roster.
Yep, so we'll see how that factors out with the trade deadline. Reed Sheppard playing much better than the year started, where everyone was panicking, and he's looked so much better. So maybe they pivot now to helping their front court out instead of worrying about the guard position. One final news and notes item that we have. We've had this for a little bit of
there it is. Thank you, Bree. The Giannis ladder meme that's been sitting in my phone for 3 years or whatever it's been since that incident happened with Trez. That is a treasured part of my meme folder.
Good to have it back. There you go. And if he winds up in the Sixers uniform, we can ask him about. You guys can ask him about him in the locker room about that time.
You guys have to see Kyle's meme folder on his phone. It is absolutely elite. S-tier meme folder, Kyle.
I pride myself on always having a reaction image or video to any possible scenario. I don't always clear the bar, but I do my best around here.
All right, final news and notes item, one that we've had tucked away, and one of our favorite places to go when we travel as a team. Might be a little bit closer. Bree, the Sphere.
Oh, yeah, I saw this.
The Sphere Entertainment and the state of Maryland, Prince George's County. It looks like the addition of the Sphere is on the way to the National Harbor, so we can take a team road trip. We can bring all the folks in the chat. You guys can meet us there. We can go see a show at the National Harbor, stay the night, get some food, all that good stuff. A PHLY Sixers road trip to the harbor. Huh?
Well, good news, guys. If data centers haven't done enough to raise your energy bill, here comes multiple Spheres across the country.
I will say, really random place for it to be.
I said the same thing.
I was expecting it to be like New York, or I think we heard some stuff about London at some point. There was news out there. So for it to be the National Harbor in Maryland was like, but that's more of a drivable event for us now. It is a smaller venue than the one in Vegas, it looks like. So I'm curious how that's going to work, because their setup in Vegas has been residencies, like pretty classic. You have one group or one singer or whoever there for a while. So we'll see exactly what they do there. I wonder if anyone's going to go see Wizard of Oz at the Maryland Sphere like they are in Las Vegas, because that's been a big thing.
All right, so Nona says she's already there. Marcus Blackstock says an hour away on 495. So we're already rocking and rolling. We got some people there where we can go hang out. The PHLY Sixers road trip to the Sphere. Now, well, we don't have to get on an airplane. We're good to go with the drive, Amtrak, whatever you need to do.
John Mayer, we'll see you soon, buddy.
Amtrak is driving down there freaking sucks.
Oh, man. Gene says, what are we going to see? John Mayer, Kyle says, we'll see. Maybe a live PHLY Sixers show, as Gene says. That would be a big deal.
No, you want to talk about a Wawa Wednesday? That would be it right there.
That would be a big deal. All right, folks, that'll do it for us. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow. Sixers Kings, 6:30 pregame. We'll have the coverage for you beginning right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. Maybe we'll be back in the studio. Who knows if things are good to go to be able to drive and get to the studio. But until then, let's get to the world famous. It's the roll call.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. We had a little extended 3 p.m. show today. How about that? Talking about shaving our heads, eating paper, and the Sphere. And Steven Adams somehow sneaking some basketball into the final block here. Thank you, everybody, for putting up with our nonsense. Hit the thumbs up button. The like on this video, it helps us out a great deal. Helps me, Devon, Derek, Bree behind the scenes, of course. It just helps everybody here at PHLY. And it takes just a half second of your time. We would appreciate that very much, just like we appreciate you, Terrence Knights, Jazz Graham, VG popping in the chat today.
What up, VG?
Said, got to see the light and go full baldy. So VG says, commit to it. I'm a paper man myself, VG, but I respect it. Thank you to Mr. Sandman for the super chat. Thank you to X-Man. Say what?
What up, X?
Thank you to Wawa Marvel, to Puppas, checking in from overseas, Remo K, Kevin Thompson, Finney Chase, Joaquin,
what up?
Rich P, Smy Guy. Hey, Smoggy. What's up, buddy? Hello to Val. Hello to Jess. Hello to my girl, Nona. Thank you to Mom's grandchildren.
It's all Jazz.
Thank you, Mom. Always
being
here. Thank you to Antoine, SB Cole, D Flyers, Jesse Bond, Jack Reacher, C. David, Lee Nguyen, 3-time B Knight in the building. Vincent Pellegrini, who surely was sitting wherever he is right now saying, why didn't they discuss Joel Embiid for Giannis? Well,
there you go.
Next time, maybe. Greeny Green, our guy Marcus Blackstock, Markel Futz, Hedfa, Jay the Jungle, Eugene Ross, Ron, all our regulars. Thank you for being here. As always, it helps us out a great deal, by the way. If you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live. We will be back tomorrow night, Sixers Kings pregame, postgame, whether it's remote or whether it's in studio, we don't know yet. For all we know, that building was lost in a giant snow accident. I will say we haven't talked about it. I don't know if you guys have seen the snowplow maps in Philly. There are certain neighborhoods where they basically just said, you guys have been left to die. Good luck out there. So all my people in South Philly, it looks like they haven't touched those roads. I would assume that means the same in North Philly. They always do a lot of the work in the center of the city. So anybody who's still snowed in, please be safe out there driving, walking, whatever. The ice is still nasty. And in general, stay safe, take care of one another until pregame, postgame tomorrow night. Goodbye, everybody.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.